on that. And I understand that the reason for that is that the existing district has a surplus of funds in it right now that you wish to use up.
So just so the public knows, we're not charging anybody for streetlight now. So on the tax, there would be, on your tax bill, there's no streetlight. We're paying it out of the reserve that we had that Kathy talked
They'll
about.
see that it'll say 0.000 instead of the 0.004 that we have been charging, because we'd like to use up that reserve.
Correct.
So the light, it'll say light assessment, but it'll be no charge coming up with the new taxes.
For probably
In winter,
what do you
December
think?
1st.
2 years about, right?
Probably 2 years.
Probably 2 years.
At
For
least.
no streetlight tax.
For the existing
I think that's a
light
big
district.
deal. It's for the existing people in the light district, not for everybody in the township, but the existing people.
The people that had paid into it.
Yeah.
That always saw it on their taxes.
So there are actually two issues. One issue is that had the new district been adopted, we were going to discontinue the old district. And obviously right now, we would not discontinue the old district. We would continue it, but we would not levy any assessment as a result of the surplus.
Right.
So that will bring the surplus in the existing district down to 0 or close to 0 within a couple of years. But on the new district that was proposed, I'm playing the devil's advocate here. The board does have one other option, and that is that the board could adopt the new district because you've already gone through the hearing of necessity and you've incurred the expenses for the hearing of necessity. You could adopt the ordinance, but have the ordinance start in 2 years or 3 years.
At the end of the...
Right. And then you would be sort of ahead of the game because you wouldn't have to go back to square one in 2.5 years when the existing district runs out of money. So I bring that up because you've already gone through the cost of noticing and having a public hearing, for the hearing of necessity. We were basically just down to the hearing on the roll at this point. But the board has complete authority to not levy that roll for whatever period of time you wish. You can. We were talking to start the levy either this year or next year, but then found out that there was enough money to keep this going for a couple of years or maybe a little bit more. So you could actually move forward and get your light district in place, but not levy anything for 2 or 3 fiscal years into the future.
What about the changing of the roll? I mean, because the roll will change in 2 years. Would that...
Well, the people will change, but the parcels aren't.
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess we could do that. You're just saying it would save us money.
I'm just saying you brought it to this point.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think there was a consensus that, I think we answered the public's questions that it was going to be, how it was going to be assessed, and most people felt comfortable with that. But I agree that you don't want to be levying that assessment until it's needed, because you're going to have too much money coming in. You don't need the money, But you already spent the money to send out notices and to do all this. So you're right to the point where you would, you could potentially approve the roll and say our new lighting district is in place, but it won't begin until 2017 or whatever. So.
What do people think about that? I mean, personally, I think he's probably bringing a good point.
Yeah, I think that.
I mean, we spent a ton of money doing this.
And we're going. Yeah, I don't want to start over. I mean, and this is something the assessor really needs to get done. He's been after us for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, well, he still is not going to. I mean, we can have it done, but we wouldn't implement it.
And we don't have to give the money back
at
all. So it's something that we really do need to move forward on.
Well, I'm supportive of. Where are you, Kathy?
Well, I have to make sure the money that is in that account is is for usage for what the people put it
Yeah.
for a light assessment.
Oh, yeah.
And not start adding lights and going,
Oh, no.
we got money there still to pay for the watt usage.
Yeah, no,
Because that
is
will be
for-
very confusing to people.
Right. But
If
we're
all of a
not-
sudden a light goes in the new district because somebody wants a light,
Yeah, I don't think we're.
and then I can't use that money because that wasn't in the original light district.
Yeah, I agree. But you're
So
not saying that. You're saying we vote to implement it when the money is gone.
Right.
And only at that time.
Yeah, let's say, just as an example, because I'm good at like squares and stuff. Let's say this is your existing lighting district, and you've got money in this lighting district to provide for lights and to provide for the cost of electricity. Well, nothing in the next 2 years while you're spending that money down, nothing, in my opinion, would stop the board if a person came in and said, well, I need a light over here in the existing lighting district because, this intersection is dark or whatever. That's fully within the parameters of what that lighting district was set up for.
Correct.
So you could add lights in the existing district, and you could also pay the cost of the electricity for the existing district. Right. But now let's say the new district is going to be this plus this, okay? So you couldn't take money from this district
That's what I
and
said.
now add lights or
That's
put
what I'm
lights into
concerned
this
about.
area.
Right.
Correct. Right. You could only, and as a matter of fact, you're not going to be collecting any money from this district over here
Right.
for 2 or 3 years. So
You're just saying we have the bill on the books.
well,
We
yeah.
have the resolution on the books.
And I'm saying you've already expended the money to have the first public hearing, so if you wait for 2 years or whenever the money runs out, you're going to have to start all over again, So you can do that, and maybe that's what the board wishes to do, but, if you're not double dipping the populace, I don't, nobody's going to be hurt by finishing up the new district and just letting it sit there dormant until you need to assess, in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. Well, what do you think, Dennis?
I like Tim's logic.
John?
I'm not in favor of the new district.
Okay. We
But
have a
his
motion?
logic does make sense, as if that's what the majority of the board's pleasure is. His logic does make sense, but I'm just not in favor of the change.
Okay. Do you want a motion to, or I don't know if we need a motion. We need a motion to accept the roll, which we've already brought forward,
Well,
right?
what we would need to do is we would need to notice the roll.
Okay.
Okay, we would need to have the second public hearing, okay? In essence, what we would be doing is we would be cutting out the cost for one public hearing.
Yeah.
Because we still would have to go forward and have the hearing on the acceptance of the role that Clayton McGovern was going to do.
He's done that.
Okay,
right?
so we'd still have to have the publications in the newspaper, and we'd still have to send the letters out for the second public hearing, which would be in, whenever the board decides. I mean, you don't have to do it in July, you can do it in
Yeah.
August or
Right.
September or whenever, But because there's no time frame in terms of the
When this would-
first hearing to the second hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that.
what does the board want to do? Do you, we know John does want to do it. Dennis is okay. Where are you, Kathy?
On the fence. The logic, I know what he's saying. I just want to make sure that that's all we're doing right at this point,
Yeah, I agree.
is using up that money and then implementing the new district.
Well, the resolution that I had previously given you had certain timelines in there, okay? And so those timelines are going to change now that you've determined that you don't need the money in 2015 or 16, So you would just set it up so that you wouldn't do your first assessment until 18 or 19, whenever the existing money runs out. I mean, you want to make sure you're going to have the ability to collect the money, so you don't run out of money totally. Because otherwise you're going to be
It'll
paying for
probably
the lights.
happen in the middle of the year.
It probably will.
We can figure that out.
But
Okay.
keep in mind again, let's say that happened. Let's say that you got to the point where you had not enough money to carry you through for the whole year. Okay, you could use the money for the existing lighting district up to the point that it was used out, and then you could potentially project a smaller assessment in the new district, say. So you wouldn't collect the full assessment for the first year.
Yeah.
You might only collect a percentage of that assessment.
Just what you need.
Just what you need, right?
Yeah. Which by that time we'll know what we need, so we won't
Right.
over-assess,
Right.
which is part of the issue today.
Correct.
We've over-assessed.
Yeah. And if you get to the point, where you're just covering the cost that you need plus 5% or 10% as a contingency, that's ideal, then you don't build up this big surplus.
Well, who would like to,
So would the next hearing be, we had set this up originally to adopt in March, which we didn't do, and then the hearing would have been in May.
Right.
So if we adopt today, we would go like July or August?
Well,
It
you
wouldn't matter.
could
It wouldn't
either
matter. Wouldn't matter.
you could either determine to adopt the resolution today, or you could say we're going to adopt the resolution or consider adoption of the resolution at the next regular meeting, and then set the hearing on necessity for August or whatever. Because then we could tailor that resolution. Because I know the board members felt before that they wanted to see the specific wording in that resolution before you adopt it.
exactly.
So we could actually figure out what the dates are for the assessment to start.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, because we have an amount in here which we'd have to change.
Right, the amount would change and the time of the
date would
assessment,
change.
yes. So, then everybody can vote yay or nay. I mean, we might have some opposed to it, but still, you'd see what you're voting on,
Yep.
rather than go
And
back.
as I understand it from Clayton, then that gives us the ability to set the rate every July when we go back and look at what the monies are in the budget, in the bank or whatever.
Yes,
And then that gives the board the ability to set the rate, not just me and the clerk.
correct.
Me
It
and
should,
the supervisor.
it should come to the board.
Yes,
And
and
should-
it never has.
And it should be determined at a public meeting,
Right.
so that everybody has the opportunity to
That was my
hear what
goal
the
too
assessment
in
is.
doing this,
Yeah.
was to get it out into the public.
So what would we do tonight? Adopt the resolution or wait until the resolution, because it gets reworded and
So we can
Well,
read
do
it.
Well-
you want to change anything in this resolution other than the dates and the amount?
I want to change the dates and the amount and the date of the assessment.
Yeah, I think
Those
we-
would be-
And then we can maybe get it
Well-
faxed to us and.
if you can send
Go
it
from
to
there.
us when you're sending the other stuff,
Okay.
we can do it
Yeah,
the June
I
meeting.
just brought a copy because I had.
Okay,
So
so then everybody would have it in front of you and you could decide at that time.
Yep, great.
So,
And then we would set a hearing after we decided.
Mm-hmm.
correct.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, we could go forward then.
Okay.
Then you can lead us what the next step is.
The next step is the same as the last step.
Yep.
Publish
Sending
it.
letters to the new district,
To the new district only.
Which Clayton would prepare for us.
Correct.
We
And
have that.
and publication in the newspaper.
Okay, so if we adopt this, this would have to be published also.
That doesn't, there's a notice that whole resolution doesn't get published.
Oh, okay.
There's a one-page notice that
Notice?
gets published. Yes.
Okay, good deal.
So
And
I-
you'll have that available for us?
Yes.
One other
Alright.
quick question on that. We had a letter tonight from somebody who wants to get out of the lighting district. So how do we deal with that?
Well, and see, that's another reason probably to deal with it now rather than
Later.
revisit it a year or two from now, because people are, they're aware of what's going on right now. So if they don't want an assessment, okay, they could potentially come to the hearing on the roll, and they could state their case as to why they don't want an assessment, okay?
Okay.
Now, in terms of if they're right in the middle of the lighting district, I'm afraid that's probably not going to help very much, because the lighting district, but if you're on the fringe of the lighting district, or, on one of these areas where you're right on the edge of it, a case could be made that, yes, we don't need this, we want to be out of it.
But who decides that? Then the board?
The board.
The board would decide whether the person...
The board would decide whether the person would get no assessment, would get a partial assessment, would get, it would be based on benefit to the property.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Because there were some individuals previously that said, well, I'm quite a ways from those lights. I'm not getting the same benefit or
Yeah.
whatever.
How's that, today, the way the lighting district is, it's handled by board of review.
No, we never
Mm-hmm.
handled lights.
It's not handled?
No.
It's
by board of
a
review?
special assessment.
No, it's not a board
It's not a
review.
property tax.
No,
Okay.
it's something that's been
Been
in
done, but
place.
it's,
And
In my time
reflected
here
on
at
the
the board,
taxes.
I've never had anybody come and say, I want this off my bill at the board table here.
No one ever
Well,
did.
we just got a letter today.
But I have had it happen at board of review. Prior to me being a board member here, I was on board of review, and it has happened
Oh, they
there.
probably question it there because
But-
they question their whole, yeah.
Yeah, but we don't do special assessments at the board of review. We just do property tax.
I mean, they might have come and questioned it,
Right.
Yeah.
thinking it was
The
the
right area.
tax or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
but the board of review wouldn't have any control over it.
Okay, so that's done. What about this ordinance for fencing for dogs? Some
well,
question to
that
legality of
was that
saying.
letter that we got.
Oh,
um,
Tim know about that?
hmm?
Does Tim know about this?
I don't think so.
Oh,
This
okay.
was an anonymous letter complaining about a dog situation up on the hill, intersection of Numbers Road and what is known as the trail. And she had walked her children by, and there were 2 pit bulls that are not fenced in and only restrained by a flimsy chain. And she was wondering if we would be interested in doing an ordinance
Yeah,
for
isn't there
dogs.
dog
that they should
Animal
be
control,
fenced
I think you
in.
call animal control.
Is there an ordinance in the city of Cheboygan, or in the county for dogs? Because I was saying that.
It's
Well,
I think
there's a-
contact animal control.
There's a state law that requires you to have your animals on leashes. if you
Well,
want
these
them.
dogs are.
And they can't be running free, they have to be enclosed. That's state law. That's not an ordinance. The only ordinance pertaining to dogs that the county has that I'm aware of is, at one time they had a barking dog ordinance, which didn't, that's a nuisance thing.
Nuisance, yeah.
But there isn't anything that a dog would have to be fenced in.
No.
Okay, all right.
Not at the county level. And at the state level, if your dog is confined and is not running loose, they don't need to be fenced in. They could be on a leash. You could take them out to walk and bring them back to the house. So they could be on a chain, I would imagine.
Well,
Yeah.
that's her complaint that they're almost trying to attack her children.
Well, then
And-
then if it's attacked, she should call the humane,
Yeah,
or the animal control,
Animal
you're right.
control if it's that violent.
Okay,
I
Okay.
would suggest animal control.
I'll get back to it.
Okay, we have lot splits of Jim Haslock.
Jim Haslock of Lot Splits.
Okay, do you have a copy of the Ranger's drawing?
No. Now, did you talk to Clayton about this?
I thought I had left one with you.
Yeah, I didn't get one.
Basically, what it is I purchased 3.5 acres of wooded residential property that fronts on Numbers Road and on East Grand Boulevard. On East Grand Boulevard, there was also a trailer home that pretty much would have surely fallen in your category of blight if you had your ordinance. And I paid a contractor $3,000 to dispose of it. And then I asked Granger to split up the property into 1 1/4 acre parcels. And that's what you're looking at in that drawing there. So that's what I'm requesting.
Yep. Have you talked to Clayton about the splits?
Yes, I did. I met with him.
And he was okay with it?
Yes, he's even put the tax ID numbers on already.
Oh, okay. And you want the board's support for it, right? That's what you want?
Correct. The frontage on, the street frontage on Numbers Road on all these lots are in excess of 200 feet. One's 203, one's 230, one's 235.
Okay.
And it certainly should help the tax base.
Yeah? Does anybody have any questions about the split?
Yeah, are you somehow combining what appears to be already platted lots into part of these parcels?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Are you somehow combining what already appears to be platted lots into
Yes.
these parcels?
Yes, in the general clear plat, the original plat was revised to parcels along that block 8. And there are 2 parcels, C and D, that you can see at the bottom, that the zoning commission denied my ability to build pole barns on those 2 lots, and so since there's nothing else I can do with those lots, I decided to just tack them onto those front lots.
What's the intent of these parcels?
Residential homes, and I'm hoping they sell. I'm hoping the economy's improved enough to do that.
And then there's, looks like 8 platted lots that would not be inside these parcels.
Correct. Those are in the revised plat of General Plat Block 8. At the very end, there's 5 lots, 13, the original lots, 13 through 17, that I bought at a tax sale. And I couldn't really build on those either, so I tacked them onto that lot to give more space to those lots.
Okay, so then what happens to the little strip between the dotted lines of the platted lots and the boundary lines of these new parcels?
Okay, that space that you're referring to is 12 feet wide.
Mm-hmm.
At the time that I went to the zoning board for approval to get a variance to build the original pole barns, the lots were so shallow that it wasn't possible to get the front yard and the rear yard, and so the zoning board did approve with a setback of only 1.5 feet instead of 12 at the rear of those lots. And so what I've done now is taken 12 feet from this 3.5 acre parcel, and I'm tacking them onto those 2. So now the minimum setback is going to be 12 feet on the barns, and then on the existing barn, and then on the 2 new ones that were decided are 13.5 feet.
So
and then 2 more barns further down are at 18.5 feet setback.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not represented on here. So the way it looks is that you may have created 2 more really narrow lots.
Here, I think I can help you right here with this.
Okay, because these would be 2 more lots. These would be independent because these are existing flats.
Correct.
And those would be 2 new ones.
Here is that revised plat, and if you look at parcels C and D. Well, let's start with A and B right here. Parcel A has got a 40 by 50 foot pole barn on it. Parcel B has got a 40 by 50 with the gable running in this direction. And then this is parcel C and parcel D that are vacant, which are these right here. That's parcel C and this is parcel D. And then parcel E has got a 40 by 40 pole barn on it. And parcel F has got a 40 by 40 barn. And then on parcel G, it's got a 30 by 40. It was originally a 30 by 30 barn, and I added 10 feet to the barn at the time I built the other barns. And so this actually is the one then that shows you where those parcels. So I'm actually, here's where the tight one was, right here. This barn was actually, by the time they established this line, it was only 3 inches
From the line.
And so now I'm making sure that it's 12 feet 3 inches. Now the next barn, it's actually, since it was at the 1.5 build, it's 13.5. This is 13.5. And then this one, because when I turned the gable here and went to these, the county allowed me to move 5 feet closer to the road, and that made 6.5 foot. And now that I've given another 12, that makes it now 18.5.
Okay, so this parcel now is attached to these two?
That's
Yeah,
correct.
that's what, yeah.
Okay.
That's correct.
It would be kind of nice if they would have showed all that here.
Well, I asked that to Al Granger too, and he kind of thought it would be cluttering the drawing. So I think
You've not split you've not split before?
no.
Yeah, then if a split is okay with.
So this strip right here is attached to these pieces?
Yes,
And the same here?
yes. And that's done through this drawing.
Right here, John, these two lots are combined. So this combines here. These two lots are combined, so that strip attaches to these two lots.
I
And
think
here,
you solved a lot of the problems you had before.
Exactly.
That's exactly what you've done,
Yeah.
which is nice, because that was really a hassle a lot of people were complaining about.
Most of the drawings I've ever seen, they always had an arrow that showed they were attached.
right, and I'm with you there. Because technically, these two strips are additional splits.
What two, these
No,
strips here?
Not according to Al and Clayton.
They're legal splits because they're being added on to these parcels, but they're still, and I don't think if they were by themselves, they technically wouldn't require the board approval, but they still are, and it just would make the drawing clearer. If, like John said, if
If you could see
what do they call it, the companion arrows, what do you call it?
Contiguous.
Like here,
arrows,
like
yeah.
what they've done here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what John is saying, when you have a parcel on a plat that is connected to another parcel, they put an arrow like this across that line.
Yeah.
To show the same person.
That's what I'm wondering.
Right.
That's not what this is here?
No, that's just a leader
Oh, I see.
for that
Okay.
for that
For this
dimension.
parcel, yeah, okay, got it.
It doesn't show that.
Do we want to table this, or do you want to deal with this tonight? I mean, I don't see any issue here, and if Clayton's approved it, and given it numbers, what's the problem?
I think it's just a bookkeeping problem. How's it going to?
Well,
Well, he gave the numbers.
The drawing.
Tim, do you want to weigh in on this? Since you're here.
Well, my ears are perking up that it sounds like you have platted land and you have unplatted land.
Correct.
My understanding is you can't combine platted and unplatted land under one tax number, first of all. And second of all, the board doesn't have any jurisdiction over platted land because land division only applies to unplatted land. So
land division only applies to unplatted land. If you're splitting a platted lot, then that's the jurisdiction of the board.
If you have an ordinance to that effect, which I believe we do, if you're splitting a platted lot, you basically can add that platted lot to other platted lots within the subdivision.
Right.
Okay, within the subdivision. So I would suggest that.
Would you come up here and just look at?
What would you suggest, Jim?
I mean, I think I would suggest take a close look at this.
Well, why don't we get Clayton in here too?
So this is unplatted, and you're incorporating these platted lots into it, and here, and here, and here, and here.
Well, based on Tim's opinion right now, I'm going to suggest that maybe we refer this to Clayton and to Tim.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've done some research. I had a township where they were trying to do this previously, and I'm not sure you can actually do that without a plat amendment.
But if I'm the owner of these lots and this lot,
Yeah, but this is platted and this isn't.
But that's platted, and what he's saying, it will require a plat amendment.
It potentially could require a plat amendment, and the board doesn't really, for land division, it doesn't have jurisdiction over platted land, technically just for land division.
so you're saying if I were not to try and attach these, this is no problem?
I don't know, I'd have to calculate it out. I don't know if it complies with zoning
You have to find
without those lots. You still have to, you have to have access, you can't have more than a 4-to-1 ratio as far as depth to width, and you have to basically comply with the county zoning. So if that's, residential, there's one zone, one size lot you can have. If it's forest ag, there's a different size lot, et cetera, et cetera. If it's commercial, it's subject to a site plan review, and so I don't have any idea how that's zoned at this point.
Why don't we do what Dennis suggested? Why don't we refer this to Clayton and Tim with you, and then they can bring it back if we can rule on it. Okay? And I'll call Clayton tomorrow and have him call you and Tim and get something set up.
All right.
Okay,
Okay,
great.
and I'll take a look at, I researched this for another township, but it's been 3 or 4 years ago, where somebody was trying to combine platted and unplatted.
Okay.
And what Tim and I or what Dennis and I were talking about is this strip in here too.
Where does it go?
Yeah.
We'll get those back to Jim. Okay, great.
Okay.
I'll talk to Tim,
Okay.
I'll talk to Clayton, and you guys can all get back together.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right of refusal on tax foreclosure properties.
The county treasurer sent me the lots that are up for tax sale. There's one at 5132 Richardson Road. It looks like, Dennis probably knows right where it is. Looks like to me from reading it, it's probably a 4 or 5 acre plot up there. Then there are 3 very small ones that Clayton tells me, 1, 2, 3, 3 up here in the top of the hill that are not, you can't get to them. There's no road to them. So we just have to let Linda know that we don't want them, or we do, or whatever.
Did she give you a map for the one that is on Richardson?
Yes, I got it from Clayton. I'll send it down.
It doesn't look like there's anything here we want.
Right.
No.
Well, my opinion, but it's, somebody else might think so. There's a map on the bottom.
Yeah, I think
Should have got
these
those,
came
so
in
you have to
April,
research them, though.
so, yeah.
Here.
Okay, town hall roofing.
Yeah. Okay. What was the next one?
Town hall roofing. This is the issue we had at the end of the budget last year, where I think you stopped us, John, and said we should get a put this all in next year.
Yeah, I was going through my bids and
We have a
stuff
bid for this.
roofing, and we never got one for the library, I don't think.
No, we never did. I think we should look at the town hall first, because that's the issue we've got, and we've got to get this thing fixed, and we've kind of put it off and off. And I think the question we have is the bid that we got for the roof last June, I think, wasn't it? Or whenever it was. September, maybe it was September, wasn't it? When is
We
that?
didn't go out for a bid, we just had an individual.
No, that's what I'm saying. We didn't have a bid. But the question is, do we have to honor that bid, or can we go out for another bid? Do we have to go out for another bid?
Okay, this one
Wasn't
came
that the
through in
question?
October, and
Yeah,
I suppose we
that's
talked
fall.
about it in November.
Yeah.
That probably is true.
Yeah.
And
we decided to wait until the spring, until we did the new budget.
yeah, I've got a note here. It
Well,
says
he could
by
have a chance to
consensus,
rebid if he'd
first
like.
up in the
You
spring.
can rebid. He would just have to have a chance to rebid.
Yeah,
And
he
he
should.
can stay where he's at or
Well,
bid
encourage
differently.
him to,
Yeah.
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 It's not, since he's put in a bid for specifically the job, we don't owe him the job, right?
Correct.
Well,
We don't know.
No.
the number was put out.
I know, that's why I'm
He
wondering.
can either change his mind and rebid or rebid the same.
So do we have to go to somebody else? I guess that's my question. We don't have to, but we can.
We didn't really put it out for
We
bids.
never put it out for bid. We had this little issue going on,
Yeah,
and we put heat tape. Remember, the solution
Yeah,
we came up with
right.
was heat tape up there. So we really need to get, I'm fine with putting, as long as we're within the law. I don't, Tim, this is what we did last year. We had this guy come, give us a bid. We spoke the amount of the bid in public meeting. But then we decided to delay it until the spring, until now. What's our obligation to the guy? Just tell him that we're going to rebid or we're going to bid because we never rebid it, we're going to bid the job?
Correct.
Yeah, and then tell him that he has the opportunity to bid again.
Right.
Okay. And he can keep the same bid in, or he can give us a new bid?
Correct.
Okay, fine. So let's do that. Right, let's put a bid in the,
Something in the paper?
so are we just gonna do the township hall but not the fire hall? I think we talked about that.
I thought we talked about only doing the township hall.
Yeah, that's the way I wrote
Was
it
that what
down.
we all talked about?
It is what we talked about. I'm not sure it's the wisest thing to do though, but it's what we talked about at the time, because winter was coming in and we had a roof leaking.
Yeah. Well, the other thing we could do is we could have somebody, as part of this bid, look at the whole building
Give
and
us
tell
a
us,
township hall bid, but give us a whole building.
give us a
Yeah.
building bid
Yeah.
on,
I would
on the
do
roof.
that. I would do that so they don't have to come back and redo it.
And then tell them we would like it separated from the township one, the township hall and the fire hall.
And also one for the library.
Is it by invitation or paper? Or printed? Published?
I think we should publish this.
I'd like to advertise for bids, since we put it in our budget like I requested. Roof on the township hall, including fire hall, roof on the library, and gutters on the library, and advertise for bid on all of it. We can put it into 3 separate bids, so we don't choose the same contractor on all of it. But I
And
would
I
like
thought
to
the gutters,
advertise
we were
for all of
gonna
it.
we're gonna advertise the gutters separately because we were gonna look at the proposal that Dennis brought on the gutters.
Mhm. There's nothing that says we will take the lowest bid,
No, right, yeah,
No, you
agreed.
don't have to.
but I would advertise for all 3 of these capital improvement projects that we put on our list.
Okay.
And I would do them as separate projects.
I would too. I wouldn't do them as all the
And
same.
you can pick them.
Yeah,
Do you want to write it?
yeah, I can,
Yeah, you write it.
I don't know what it would look like, but I can write
I mean,
something.
that would be
right.
my preference.
Yeah, okay.
Sure,
I'm okay with
that's
that.
okay.
Okay, trees on Lee Street in front of the schoolhouse that need to be trimmed, not in quote, one dead tree according to view. Bid. What's this, Rachel?
Well, it came in $500 over his original bid, which was $8,200. And he took down a tree
wrote it down.
This was
In
when he
front
went
of
up
the
there in the
schoolhouse,
fall.
and then also, remember, I brought up the fact that there was limbs over the new roof.
Right.
So he did that, that was not in the quote. And he also took out a tree that was dead. And that came in $500 higher than the $8,200 that he quoted.
So we owe him $500.
We owe him $500.
I make a motion, we pay him $500.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, pay him the money we owe him. Okay,
Okay.
anybody, John, do you have any comments?
Oak Hill Cemetery had its first board meeting since the budget, the annual budget meeting that it did. Scott Enos agreed to be the chairman of that board for another year. As you know, we do that yearly.
Scott?
Enos.
Same officers as before,
Okay.
as the previous year.
Did they change the budget at all, or same?
Same budget.
Good.
Same budget, same board.
Mm-hmm. Same officers on the board too.
Dennis?
Nothing.
Kathy?
Not really a comment. I noticed that we are going to be charging $10 over at the east side. I wasn't at the last meeting. Is he to bring the treasurer the money at some point, or once a month, or anybody talk to him?
We're paying John $10 to do it.
Oh,
So it's
I guess I misread
it's
it.
basically a flat, but John's gonna have to bring the $10 over, and then we're gonna have to pay John $10. He can't
Oh.
just keep the $10, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
well, it's a
that's-
bookkeeping
It's a
thing.
bookkeeping.
we are charging rent of $10.
Yep.
And he's okay.
And John, instead of having Patty do it here, which would be
Correct.
driving
Yeah.
around the other
I
side.
understand that.
Yeah,
So we're paying him, and he's collecting $10.
Yep.
But he knows the treasurer needs that at some point.
yep, he knows that he has to turn the money in.
Okay.
Oh, sure.
John Parrott.
That's what I
John
meant.
Brown.
No.
John Parrott.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
John Parrott,
Yeah.
not John Brown.
John Brown didn't want to do it.
With his fire report.
I have a question of Dennis. Dennis, do you want to have your person that bid the gutters over at the library, do you want that rebid in case it's more? I mean, this was last year, October 25th. They gave us this bid.
I guess it would, in fairness, we should give him a chance to see if he wants to change that number or whether he can.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I
Yeah.
mean, we don't know what the costs of the raw material are.
Right. Yeah. So I can contact him.
Will you? Okay, good.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
As far as I know, that bid is still sealed because I gave it to you sealed.
I've never told anybody what it is.
Okay.
I just looked at it and went,
Okay. Do you have anything, Rachel? Anything else?
no, I covered my stuff.
I have one thing. Patty asked me about the fence at the library. She wanted to know if we could put in a different fence, something that was a little more aesthetically pleasing than that thing that's falling down over there. You know what I'm talking about? Right behind her building, goes over to the driveway and kind of comes around. It's a wooden fence.
You mean her?
It's a split rail.
Split rail.
You
Split
mean
rail
the split
fence.
rail?
I mean the
Did
hammer
John
that people
put in?
used to come up?
No,
No, it's, did you do that?
No, I repaired it once, but I didn't put it in.
Oh, I thought you did.
Anyway, she would like to, I said to her, I'll bring it to the board, see, she says you got everything else looking nice, and then we got that fence sitting there. So, if people are okay with, taking a look at some other fencing options,
Do you want to match the beach fence?
well, that's what I think we should do. I mean,
$150 a foot.
it's how much?
$150 a foot.
So I don't know how many.
It would look nice though.
Look very nice.
However, I talked to Paul about that.
Paul?
And Rapaski.
Yeah.
And there are other fences that would meet the requirements that we would have to meet at one of the box stores as far as weight. That's much cheaper.
Is this something that is going to be in the park project?
Not where she wants it.
Oh, okay.
The reason I was looking at it was because we have to do it over here.
Yeah, I know.
If we put that retaining wall in. So, yeah.
Why not just a nice old-fashioned wooden picket fence, which would be in keeping with the character of the depot?
Well, you know what used to be there? There's a picture of it. There was horse tie out there. It was the cement poles and then a tie out with a rod about like this.
For the horses.
And that was for the horses. And that's what they used to have at the library. So that would be charming if we could pull something like that off. And it would still be kind of in keeping with the fence we already have.
Well,
I'd find the picture.
I would be more than happy to work with Patty and see what we could come up with.
Yeah, something like that, just suggestion.
And then I'll bring it back the next meeting. Okay. We have a motion to pay the bills.
So moved.
There's one bill in here that the contractor failed to provide Rachel with workman's comp for his employees. And so I'd like to hold on that bill until he provides her with the comp. Because if he doesn't buy workman's comp on his employees, then the township's responsible.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Okay. Pay the bills with the exception of the
I would
one.
support Dennis's motion with the exception of that one
Yeah,
bill.
which
right
I
now.
will hold that until it comes through.
Okay.
Is that okay with your motion?
Absolutely.
Change it? I'll support it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion carries.
I saw your notes on that.
Is there a motion
Did you see
to?
the note?
Rachel.
I didn't see the note, but he saw the note.
I will talk to you.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
didn't mill it up.
Yeah, I didn't look at it. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Is one of these for you?
Yeah.
No, I guess I'll put it in that.